atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
This town needs an enema.
Riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black bat?
When Gotham is ashes, you have my permission to die.
Gotham! This is your liberation.
My mother warned me about getting into cars with strange men.
This isn't a car.
20 years in Gotham. How many good guys are left? How many stayed that way? He has the power to wipe out the entire human race.
Tell me, do you bleed? You will.
I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
He's a silent guardian, a watchful protector, a dark knight. I'm Batman.
Let the games begin.
Welcome to the Batman on Film podcast. Here are your hosts, Bill Jett Ramey and Rick Shew.
Hey now, you are listening to Volume 2, Episode 77 of the Batman on Film podcast. BOF is a proud member, as well as the sponsor of the Batman Podcast Network. Check out all the shows at batmanpodcastnetwork.com. I am the host of this here podcast, as well as the founder of the 19-year-old Batman on Film, Bill Jett Ramey. I am joined today by BOF podcast co-host Rick Shew, the BOF Roundtablers, Justin Kowalski and Ryan Haas, and our special guest, Zaki Hasan. Batman on Film, authoritative, definitive, the dadgum original. How you like that, Rick? Dadgum, that's right. That's a Texas word right there, if there ever was one, sir.
Reminds me of my grandmother, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir, dadgummit. All right, boys and girls.
And she's going to wash her clothes, Dad.
I do wash my clothes, too.
My dad said that, but he was from Pennsylvania.
I say Washington, D.C., in the state of Washington, but I'm going to wash my clothes. I don't need to explain that to me. I have no idea. Anyway, we're fixing to talk a little Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
We were going to do it last weekend. We had a scheduling issue, and then we found out about the passing of Adam West, and we made sure that we moved our schedules around to where we could talk about Mr. West and honor him. And so we talked then, said, well, we can do this on a Tuesday. So here it is by popular demand, because some people are going to jump off a bridge if we didn't do the Wonder Woman podcast. So here we go. Here it is. Rick, how you doing this morning?
It's 12 noon.
It's
Bill.
afternoon. Yeah, it is. It's usually
I'm good, man. I feel good. My agent called me this morning and dropped a big, cool audition on my lap. I've got this afternoon. I'm excited to talk about Wonder Woman. I'm glad we're all here. Life is great.
All right, good. Justin, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's not 6 a.m., so that's good. It's nice. About 10 o'clock. I've had coffee, adequate amounts. So I'm good to go, man. I'm excited.
Justin, I will say he's a trooper, because he is probably the earliest of the for him on his time when we do the podcast, 6, 7 in the morning a lot of times when we're doing them. So
I'm telling you, my wife is like, "How will you wake up for a show?"
Only for a podcast. Only there, and there he is. Ryan, how you, sir?
Oh, I'm good. As you guys know, you guys rearranged your schedule so I could record this during my lunch hour at work, but you know, I'm in the game industry, and I'm just having a lot of fun watching all this E3 video game news breaking.
Oh, cool.
Super good stuff. But after this is over, I'm excited to go pick up Lego Batman on Blu-ray.
Yes, I posted my review, watched it again. I got through just about all of the extras. I love the Hoser Batman. What is it? Hoser Knight.
Yeah.
It's pretty
He
pretty
joins
awesome.
the Justice League Canada.
Yeah. That may be was that the best one on there? That may be the best one on there, but that was pretty awesome. So anyway, if you don't know what I'm talking about, get the Lego Batman Blu-ray. Look at the extras. You'll see what I'm talking about. And Zaki, welcome back to the show. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to talking about the movie with you guys.
Okay, well, let's get rolling here. Is it fair to say that Wonder Woman is the best DCEU film to date?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm being a little sarcastic there. So,
Downright disingenuous if you don't say it.
I'm being just a little sarcastic. So, Rick, you were emphatic that was yes. So, what's your opening thoughts about Wonder Woman?
I remember I saw it, and thanks to you, and because if I don't give you props, you're going to give me grief. So thanks to you, I got it. So
exactly. Absolutely.
I got into a press screening in Dallas and saw it early, and I ended up there with my buddy Brian Chatlin, who's been on the show, and my good friend. And anyway, he and I were sitting there, and I looked over at him about 45 minutes, 30 minutes into the movie, and I said, "Is this really?" And I never talk in a movie, by the way, ever, but I did on this one. I had to. I just leaned over and said, "Is this really as good? Is it like it's playing out?" And he's like, "It's awesome." And that's how I felt. I was so excited that I loved it, that I didn't have to pretend like I liked it, that I didn't have to force myself to try to like it. I just think it is absolutely a delightful film from beginning to end. I had just this perpetual smile on my face the whole time. And I adore this movie on its own. I particularly adore this movie when you put it in context and juxtapose it with the DCEU up to date, because we needed this, right? We needed this as fans. We are all united on this movie. People that we've pulled each other's hair out about the other films. We are like, we're singing by campfires and roasting marshmallows right now. It's fantastic.
All right. Very good. Well, Zaki, so I'll let you go next. Man, what, just off the top of your head, what's your initial thoughts about Wonder Woman?
Well, I think the first reaction I had when it ended was just a big sigh of relief. Because the problem is that the film, there's like all these narratives that exist completely separate from the film itself, right? Number one, there's the can DC make good movies narrative. Then there's the whole, can you have a superhero movie with a woman as the lead? And then you have the whole anti-feminist narrative. Like there's all this stuff, right? So it's like, we had something similar happen with Ghostbusters last year, where the film itself became separated from the cultural conversation, which almost engulfed it. You know what I mean?
No, it did.
And the problem with that film, which I didn't hate, I just thought it was okay, was I said I wish it was better because I didn't want to give all those anti-people a win. I didn't want them to get to have a notch that they could get, you know? And so for me with this, it's like it's a good movie, number one, which is the big sigh of relief. And I'm glad that the people who are anti for every stupid reason, they don't get to claim a scalp. However, I will say, and this might be a somewhat conflicting thought, I think that some of the sort of the reaction to it has been almost too orgasmic.
I agree with that. There's some truth in that. Yes.
So I think we should be very happy about the fact that it's a very good DC movie and it's probably the best DC based movie since the Dark Knight, either just the Dark Knight or the Dark Knight Rises, depending how you feel about that. But either way, since the end of the Nolan trilogy, it's easily the best DC feature film.
Well, let me bring that up since you brought it up. Actually, this is a good point. You know, a lot of people have. A lot of fans mostly have said there's a conspiracy against DC films, and that you know what I'm talking about. That they're not going to review them in a positive manner, no matter what. And I think that's all hogwash. To mostly all 99. Sometimes people go into the agenda, but whatever. But do you think there's a little bit of this film? And I had heard before it was released that. People said it's critic proof. Do you think there's a little bit of going overboard with the positive positivity about it because it is a superhero film with a female lead, or is that would that be a ridiculous idea or thought, just like we think there's a conspiracy against DC films in the first place? Anybody have thoughts of that?
I think there is some of that. I mean, and again, let me couch. It's a very good movie, so yes. I'm definitely not saying. I'm not saying, oh, people are giving it a pass because it's a bad movie. They're saying it's good. I don't think that. I do, however, feel that again, what it represents has become just as, if not more important than what it actually is.
Mm-hmm. Justin,
if I may, let me say this. For me personally, just this is pure, strictly anecdotal here. But people that I'm seeing just fawning over this movie and in a way that we're alluding to are the same people that do this with every DC film that's come out. In my view, what people like myself and Zaki, I'm not claiming that you were questioning my authenticity or anybody else's on this panel or Bill, you either. I genuinely love this movie. I mean, completely without question, without. I don't need context. I don't need anything. It's just a standalone, wonderful, delightful movie. Was it a little bit of a heightened reality for me because I was so relieved it wasn't Suicide Squad, right? Maybe the first time, and I told myself that, but oddly enough, when I saw it the second time, I said, I'm going to have a clearer head, and I'm going to look at this and say, did this get hyped up in my head just a little bit because I'm so just jaded right now, and in fact, I liked it more the second time. So there's
okay. All right, good point. All right, Justin, I'm sorry Rick cut you off. Go ahead, sir.
No. As far as there being as far as there being any type of DC agenda, I don't subscribe to that. I think that's when it's like the panic of the villagers freaking out over the giant that's not there. If something is non-enjoyable by the majority of the people, they're going to say it. I think that would be the biggest. Not if it was true, it'd be bigger than Milli Vanilli. It'd be the biggest controversy and hidden agenda ever happened. The studio has been paying off bloggers to write bad reviews about people.
Yes. Disney's doing that. Disney's paying off reviewers.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Because I need some cash. I will trash anything for a price. Just kidding. And and then also I understand the passion people will have for something they love. You want to top secret. I'm going to reveal something super embarrassing about myself. I once wrote a long letter. I think I told Ryan this, defending Batman and Robin, why it was good, because I didn't want to hear anything bad about Batman, but you kind of come to, I was like, Batman would be prepared. He'd have ice skates. But but you have to come card. Right. He'd have a credit card. So people, they tend to get really passionate about the things they love, but it's almost this unhealthy, you start making up things. It's whoa. Okay. You enjoyed that. That's good. But you got to call a spade a spade, Doomsday looked like a gray turd. No one can say that was amazing looking. Right. And if you love it, hey, be blessed. You love it. And that's great. But there's an ignorance that comes with it that when you start saying ridiculous thing and attacking people, that part's crazy. So on the flip side of it with Wonder Woman, it was really good and it's okay to be excited about that. I feel like majority of the craziness is those that always want it validated. Now they're like, oh my gosh, everyone's accepted this. So they're even more excited, which is great. But I think the whole universal love of it is kind of exciting because myself, I don't think I've had to argue about this movie with anybody, which is amazing in itself. There's not going to be some weird conversation 3 years from now about it really was good because of A, B, C, and D. It's nice to have. It does feel like a win. I think you said that, Zaki. It's a win because A, we love these characters. We love DC. We want there to be good DC movies. And this feels like a great step in going into that direction. And we just hope for the best for more. And again, you're not going to experience any contention with this one, which is almost contention in itself because someone's going to want to poke the bear on it. But
I think now that you said it, you've jinxed it. We're going to get a bunch of things.
But we still have Justice League in November, guys.
But okay, we'll get there. We'll get there.
There's an 800-pound gorilla. There's an 800-pound gorilla still in the room, all right?
Yes, but let's close the door on him, or put a curtain around him for right now, because I do want to say nice things about the DCEU and especially Wonder Woman. All right, Ryan, are you there, Ryan?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I was again being a little sarcastic streak in me this morning.
Okay.
Now Ryan has seen Wonder Woman about 472 times already, and so he should have a good insight on it. So Ryan, just your off the top thoughts, just what comes to your mind immediately when you talk about Wonder Woman.
Well, I've seen it 472 minus 407. I've seen it 2 times.
Nice.
But it's a good movie. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I think the overwhelming praise we've seen for the film is enough to cut through all of the extreme positive or extreme toxic or negative reactions. I mean, it's enough to say, yes, thank goodness this hits all of the beats, no matter what narrative you look at or choose to, pay attention to. For a long time, I've been saying, this next DCEU film, whether it's Justice League or Wonder Woman, we need to hit this perfect balance of critical reception and fan reception, and it needs to do good in the box office. And I think Wonder Woman's doing all 3 of those things, which is fantastic. Watching the film itself, separating it from all that kind of stuff, as I was watching the movie, there were just so many moments where I was just kind of frankly blown away at how well the story was constructed, or how, I can't believe the movie's this good type of moments, and, part of it is maybe my own personal, like, I want the movie to do good, and wow, it is good. And, as all you guys know, I'm about to have a daughter here in a mere number of weeks from now. So I'm projecting myself thank you. I'm projecting myself as a future father, thinking like, man, I cannot wait to show this to my daughter when she's old enough, because this kind of movie is very important, for people to kind of, identify with a strong female character like this. And just the fact that she's also happens to be, part of this DC Comics, universe is just that much more of the icing on the cake. So overall, my reaction was extremely positive. I think the movie's fantastic.
All right. So let's talk about, I agree. I gave it an A-. I loved it. I loved it. Just because I gave it A- doesn't mean I don't love it, because there's some things about it I have a few quibbles with it. We'll get to that. But it was exactly what, and everyone has said it pretty much, is what DC EU needed. And it hit everywhere. The audiences love it. It did well at the box office. And it's still doing well at the box office.
Yeah, I was going to say, still doing well.
Still, yes. And critics loved it as well. So that's great. That's fantastic. And so let's talk about what made it so great. First of all, props to Patty Jenkins, who was the second director on this project, but whatever. So, because that led to some of the negative narrative, they're changing directors again, blah, blah, blah. No one wants to stay with a DCEU film, but I thought she did a fantastic job. And Gal and Chris Pine to me almost stole the movie. He was so good in this movie as Steve Trevor. So let's talk about those two and the rest of the cast and go from there. Zaki, go ahead.
Well, I think the casting is a big one. And for all the poop that gets flung at Zack Snyder occasionally, you have to give it up for him. He cast Gal Gadot, and she is to Wonder Woman. She did what I didn't think was possible, which was be just as born to the part as Linda Carter was. I thought Linda Carter was sort of irreplaceable, and I was like, whoever else does it will be good, but she can't be Linda Carter. I think Gal Gadot was Christopher Reeve level good as this character.
I agree. Yeah,
that's good.
And I think like the story that's constructed around this film gave her the opportunity to do that in a way that, just for example, Batman vs. Superman didn't really do, although she was one of the best parts of that film. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I absolutely loved Gal Gadot in this movie. And I said, I don't know if I said it with Ryan on that show we did, but it is hard not to fall in love with her. And I don't mean it in a romantic way. I mean it in a way of like, you just like connect with her and you think, I'm gonna hang out with this. I'm gonna follow her in the battle. Like as soon as she starts proving herself, and you almost start believing like she might be right here. All right, let's do this. Like when she hangs out with it's like a setup of a bad joke. There's an Irishman, a Moroccan, and a Native American in a bar, and then they walk out with Wonder Woman, and then they save the day. Like all of that stuff. Like those guys are like bought in. All right, let's go with her. Steve Trevor, you got this crazy idea. Like just you're gonna fall in love and do whatever she wants you to do, not out of like lust, because she wasn't like this overly sexualized version of Wonder Woman.
No, they didn't sex her up at all. Yeah,
not at all. It was all very classy. And I was reading an interview with with Patty Jenkins, and she specifically said she wanted every shot of Wonder Woman when she's fighting to not be masculine, but for her to be beautiful, but not in a way to be like sexualized, but to be, she is the essence of what beauty and being a warrior is. And I was like, oh, that was really interesting, like how she set up all these shots. And I think some people would
sort of see the Michael Bay version of that,
coming. But one of the things I think is great about Gal Gadot is she was a model, right? And she could kind of, I teased my wife about this. I was like, she's kind of tapping into some of her smizing, her smiling with her eyes, because I think that's a talent too, to like be able to emote through your eyes. And she did it a lot in that movie. Like her eyes would draw you in, and her beauty draws you in, but she actually like, she had the chops to like make you believe she's this naive Amazon, and she's, so believes in like her mission that she is going to end war. And then when it doesn't happen, spoilers, you can see her heartbreak and the disappointment. And
yes,
she did that. I believed her. I was like, man, I felt bad for her. I felt bad that I knew it wasn't going to happen, but the fact that she wanted it to happen so bad, my heart broke for her.
This is, I would say she is this character, Gal's Wonder Woman. It's the first DCEU character that I've cared about. And it's the first DC on film character I've cared about since Christian Bale playing Bruce Wayne. And I'll say it, and I mean it. I said it that for a reason, playing Bruce Wayne in the Dark Knight trilogy. And this is what I want with Ben Affleck as Batman. Because as much as I love Batman, I don't have an emotional investment in that Batman yet. And I so much want, and I liked Man of Steel a lot, but I haven't got to the point to where I care about that Superman as much as I care about Gal's Wonder Woman. And that's what has been missing from these DCEU films. And I guess you can sum it up as heart. This is the first one that had a lot of heart to it. So go ahead, guys.
No, go ahead.
It's like there's, to Gal Gadot's performance itself, I mean, there's like an earnestness and a purity to her performance. And I think that's really reflected in the entire rest of the film too. I mean, it just kind of meshes so well together. She's this giant focal point of the whole story, and you believe her emotions, and you just buy. It's good enough to where you buy into, Themyscira and the Amazons, and then now you're in the real world, and it just doesn't really miss a beat. And everything else in the film kind of funnels into that. So when you get to a moment like the No Man's Land sequence, like you were completely, you emotionally invested in what's happening. And that happens in a lot of the other action scenes too. It's not just, action for the sake of action. I mean, there's emotional stakes and story beats tied into everything that happens. So it's a very flawless kind of film that makes you kind of really get invested in the characters and the performances.
A couple things. One other thing, if I could, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think what also works in its favor is that, unlike Batman and Superman, Wonder Woman didn't really have to compete with herself as far as having to tell another version of a very familiar story. I think when you look at the problems with the DCEU Batman is like, well, we've already got a very beloved trilogy. We've already got very beloved Tim Burton film, and then Man of Steel, in my opinion, and I like Bill, I like it. It suffers from having to do the origin of Superman and competing with what many people consider pretty much a perfect telling of the origin of Superman. So it has to be different from a version that most people, this didn't need to do that. And so it could do the archetypal story. I mean, Patty Jenkins in interviews like a few months ago, this is where I was like, I think this is going to be good. She said, I wanted to make my movie be like Richard Donner's Superman. And you can see it. It's earnest, and it drips with an unabashed love of the subject matter at face value. So in other words, it's not reactive and it's not deconstructive the way we see in certainly in BVS and Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've seen up to that point, James Tynion, the fourth DC Comics writer, one of his tweets was really good. He said like the film is absolutely unapologetically pure DC lore, and it has all this myth and grandeur, and I totally agree with that. It like embraces everything that's great about the comic book character and kind of doesn't veer off too much from that.
No, and one of the things I wanted to say about Gal that I actually want to pick up on what Zaki was talking about in terms of Patty Jenkins' influence in Richard Donner's Superman. First of all, in regards to Gal, she's shockingly gorgeous, and through this entire film, I didn't think about how beautiful she was.
Yeah.
I was just invested in her character. Mm-hmm. And I was invested in her facial expressions. This is a spoiler thing here, so if you haven't seen the film, fast forward. But the moment where she's walking through and she sees the severed limbs and the look on her face, that to me is one of the most powerful scenes in any comic.
And the horses.
Ever.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. And the horses in the mud. Yeah.
And the horses, right. Everything. Now, to something that Zaki brought up in terms of Richard Donner's Superman. That is one of my favorite films of all time. I even will just look past him changing time by flying around the earth backwards, but we won't get into that. Nothing's perfect. But one thing that really works for Richard Donner's Superman, and it's a big one, and it's sort of a nuanced thing, right? Is that there are these different worlds that people inhabit, yet they are all connected somehow. And to make that work is a very difficult thing to pull off. And here's where I'm going with this. You have Superman open with Krypton. Futuristic, everybody's talking like they're lawyers, and it's just very direct, right? And then all of a sudden you're in Smallville. You're in Smallville, and everything's like high school and football and jolly and G-Dad. And then all of a sudden you're in Metropolis, and then it's this bustling city, and then Clark's kind of tripping all over himself, and then we start to have havoc wreaked. And to me, the Wonder Woman follows kind of a similar pattern, and it never felt contrived. There was never a weird segue, like, okay, she's here, and all of a sudden she's in London, and then she's on the battlefield, and it all just worked. And those transitions were as smooth as glass. And that's why that film resonated with me, because it took me on a ride, visually, emotionally, and I enjoyed every second of it.
I never thought of it, that the different worlds intersecting, and because I guess that's to your point, you didn't think about it because it was seamless, and they never seemed like they didn't fit with one another. That makes any sense. So
when you buy into the characters, that's very easy to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. And
that's Richard Donner and Patty Jenkins. That's I mean, obviously the people that surround them, they're DPs. We can go on and on, but that's a talent, and that's a difficult thing to pull off, and they did. And I wasn't necessarily sold on that with Man of Steel, to be honest with you. I mean, I liked the way Krypton looked, and all that was cool, but it didn't have that. It wasn't seamless. It was abrasive, And those two films, they're very similar in that way.
Well, not to get off on a Man of Steel tangent, but I agree with Justin. I thought the Krypton stuff was some of the best parts of the film. But
fantastic.
But I shall digress. We'll have to talk about it another time.
I want to make sure I'm clear on that. I actually really like Man of Steel. I'm not saying I don't like the Krypton scenes. I'm talking
I know
about
what you mean, though.
The transition. Yeah. It's not as... You're right. It's not as...
I got you.
It's more like... Is it more like when certain things happen in Man of Steel, you're like, oh, well, that's a choice they made. And you have to stop and think about it, almost as if when you watch Wonder Woman, you don't.
And I think those choices were made because of trying to differentiate from the Donner movie.
Sure.
Wonder Woman didn't need to do that.
Yes.
You're right. And Zaki, what also Man of Steel had to do, sorry, we're talking about Man of Steel here, but it's all connected to the DCEU. You're right. They had to do that. And then they also, quite frankly, had to sort of be the antithesis of Superman Returns, where he didn't punch anything, right? So they were juggling that as well. They may not have talked about it publicly, but we know they were.
Yeah, they went overboard to negate that criticism of Superman Returns.
Right,
with Superman,
he's going to punch
Superman
everything.
He punched everything.
He didn't punch anything. Now he's going to tear down buildings.
You know what though? Speaking of the world building though, like I was a little concerned with the present day bumpers at the beginning and end of the film, you know, not gelling well, but honestly, they kind of make the whole photo thing from BVS that much better, you know,
because
it works so good. You see that now when I watch BVS, if I watch it again, if you see that photo, you're going to be like, oh, I know the whole story behind that, and I know those characters, and all of that meant something to Diana, and it just gives it that context is just actually really fantastic.
It wasn't ham-fisted at all. It was very. Yeah, you kind of nailed it, Ryan, and it made it even more purposeful. So it's almost like Rogue One. It makes Episode 4 better.
Yeah, I said it in my review is that one of my fears going into Wonder Woman is that they would be beating us over the head that, hey, this is a DCEU film. Everybody exists together, and you know what? Justice League is coming just in a few months. Never once did I feel like that in Wonder Woman. Not one single time, even with the beginning and end. It fit perfectly, and I even said it was rather sweet, you know, especially at the end. You know, spoiler alert, what Bruce does for Diana.
And are we doing spoilers? I mean, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I appreciate that they had the courage to kill off Steve Trevor. And let me juxtapose that with I'm the same person who really was pissed off that they killed off Jimmy Olsen in BVS, but I think again it goes to execution. I mean, I think once you do the math and you're like, well, this is set in World War I, so we can't have Steve Trevor in the present as a meaningful character. So, you know, giving him a full arc to the point where not only does Diana feel it, but we feel it. I mean, it's sad when he dies, and I think that's remarkable.
He does. Chris Pine does a hell of a job. His acting when he's on the plane. And he knows this is it, you know, and just the look on his face, and it's awesome. I love that part of the movie.
His whole that guy. I'd like to just give that guy a high five. What a hell of a performance.
Yeah, he doesn't get nearly enough credit as an actor.
I mean, no. And listen, I'll be honest with you. When he was cast, I was like, oh God, that pretty boy lame dude. Whatever.
Oh,
fine.
Really? I
thought
here was one of the. I like him a lot.
Yeah,
I was almost bummed that he wasn't Green Lantern because the way he carries himself. I was like, oh man, he would be a great Hal Jordan. But I think you needed him. You needed him to be Steve Trevor because I can't think of another person to be Steve Trevor. Like he had that. You know, he's an above average male. You know, he had that. Like, I want to hang out with this guy, and not in an annoying way. We're like, oh, this guy, pretty boy, butthole type of guy.
Yeah,
he had the charm. He had the charm where you're just like.
What about them on the boat? On the boat?
Yeah. Oh so, man,
who's your father? I didn't have a father. I was made from clay granted by Zeus. He's like, okay, that's neat.
That's neat.
I mean, comic timing and God, it's great.
It's awesome. I mean, Chris Pine has a very good ability of being able to kind of embody some of these, you know, very iconic characters, but also give them some kind of groundedness and humanity that you just instantly identify with. It doesn't take much for him to do that. So having him be the non-superhero powered person in this film really kind of provides a great contrast with Diana, but it also just makes the whole story that much better.
You know, I liked him, and when I say like, I mean like. And I say like this, you know, he's a dude. I like that. I like that dude. I want to hang out with that guy. You know what I mean? Not his acting part. I liked him as Kirk. But I really connected with him and really liked him in Wonder Woman. I thought, you know, he never was an a-hole. He never was a douche. He did, you know, even when he was, you know, he's kind of a rapscallion. He's kind of, you know, he's a spy and all this, but he's a good guy. Real good guy with it, and you know, fighting the cause for good. And yeah, I mean, it made his sacrifice. You know, I was a little more bummed and sad when he died than when Superman took down the big
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And BVS. So that's not a knock on them. I'm just saying that, the characters in these films I cared about. Even the little minor characters were people that you got attached to during the 2 hour and a half of the movie.
They were great.
They were great. And it kind of reminded me of, brace yourself for this reference, but Braveheart. Do you guys remember just the characters in Braveheart that were just sort of what you would normally be the B-roll characters, but you just loved them? They were so interesting. What was the crazy guy, the Irish guy, remember? And he was, he actually ended up saving, anyway, I'm gonna go off on a Braveheart tangent.
The Almighty says
that guy. Right, that guy. Thank you. Yeah. Anyway, I wasn't really prepared for this analogy, but I'm gonna wing it. So, but that's what it reminded me of, is that, man, not since Braveheart and maybe there's some exceptions, but it's very rare that you just are so invested in these characters that would normally just be throwaway characters in films. And even the line where the guy was like, and maybe it resonated with me personally, I don't know, but he said, really, I'm an actor. I don't even want to be doing this, but I have to. But when he said it, I'm like, man, that poor guy, he just wants to be an artist, and he's fighting this fight because he has to. I'm like, wow, I care about this guy who has what? He might have more lines than Superman and BVS, but that's not saying much. I mean, he's right. He's not. But it's a powerful thing for the filmmakers to be able to pull that off.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
very attention to detail.
Yeah, oh, sure. And that whole secondary, cast of people really added to the whole story. And Charlie, I think was one of my favorite ones. That there's that whole subplot of him, being like a really good sniper and stuff, but he can't really. But you might think that doesn't really get paid off. But I was talking to Justin about it, and he had a really good point about that.
Oh, I did.
You should tell everybody.
No, so what a lot of people thought, like, oh man, he never got to fulfill his destiny as a sniper, right? And my take on it was, that's not who he really is. It was that moment where Steve and Diana are dancing, in the snow, and they hear him singing, and it's like, wow, I haven't heard him do this in a while. And I feel like that's what he has to give. He's not a sniper. He brings joy and something else to the world, and that's through his singing, and because that set that moment up really well. Like, it set the tone for them, and for them to really engage in, like, hey, we're in love, like, we're falling in love, let's not fight this. And he platformed that scene to happen. Like, I just thought that was a beautiful moment right there. And if you feel like these characters didn't have purposes in the film, they all did. Even though they weren't super expanded upon, there's enough there for you to paint a picture, if you pay attention well. Yeah. And he was amazing. Not that he was amazing, but it was just a little amazing thing to pull out, and it made them human. And that's why at the end, when they all hug and stuff, that kind of got me. I was like, dude, they went through a giant ordeal and they survived, and it didn't come off as cheesy, like, oh, we're all going to hug. It felt like, man, I want to go up there and hug them too. And like, man, I'm glad you guys made it, because a huge sacrifice happened, crazy, like, and it was a test of faith for them. They're like, let's follow this girl. Let's do this. And it paid off. And so it was cool to see their journey.
Not to get political, is there a little bit of a anti-war message in Wonder Woman? And I say that just, hypothetically throwing that out there.
Well,
I think it's pretty hard to say there isn't.
Yeah. Well, and I think I don't know. I think there's just a reality of war more than anything. And I think by virtue of reality of war, I would like to think most of us would think that
they showed it. They showed the horrors of war for what they are, without trying to be preachy, if that makes any sense.
If you tied into Ares, it's like, it's not one person's thing. It's humanity in general.
The punchline, if you will, of the whole movie is love will save the world. So, I mean, that's about as anti-war as it gets.
And here's the thing: they never, in any of the messaging, it never beats you over the head. And I appreciate that, because I always feel very like, when something's on the nose, I'm like, oh man, like, I get it. You didn't have to paint that picture. Cause like, not once. And I appreciated that she was never, I'm a woman, you have to let me in. She never once said that, because her presence, suggested that. And it never came out of like, I'm a woman, I'm going to do this. It was like, this is the right thing to do. That's what it was based on.
You're telling me you didn't want to hear her say, "I'm Wonder Woman."
Using feminine wiles to get what you want. That yes, number way long ago.
Hey, and listen, going back to
I don't know. Does anybody else agree with that? I actually appreciate
the movie is what it is.
Everything was subtle. Look, when you're on the nose with stuff, it's kind of a difficult pill to swallow. It reminds me of here's my Star Wars reference. Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith. Anakin's talking to Obi-Wan. He has like a direct line from George Bush. If you're not with us, you're against us. And I'm going, and it was like, I'm watching it in 2005 going, really? That was in a State of the Union address like 3 weeks ago, or 6 months ago. It's stuff like that can be a little nauseating. This was not like that whatsoever. It was all very subtle. But I was going to go back also talking about minor characters and then kind of talking about woman power there a little bit in that subtle fashion. Even Trevor's spunky little British secretary was awesome, right? She comes around the corner with the sword, and she's funny. She's funny. She's charming. She's witty. She's smart. And then it turns out she's kind of a badass too.
Yeah, I wish that she had more scenes because I feel like all of her scenes were pretty much in the trailers. That's the one thing. If I had a little bit of I wish she was in it more because she was fun.
Well, I don't know. Maybe look. Less is more sometimes. Maybe if she was in it a little more than that, it might have been overkill. I think she was. I think it was nice the way she was properly handled. I'll leave it like that.
All right, so let's talk about the finale, third act. Some people, that's a lot of the reviews I read, including mine. That's where people had a few quibbles about the film. Some people didn't, So let me start by saying that. No, you know what? I want Rick to say it because Rick, he made a good point when we were talking about it. Rick, and I'll bring it up, and you can continue on. But there was a part, and this is no. I'm not trying to be negative towards Zack Snyder, so that's where I'm trying to be careful here. That it got no offense intended. It got a little Zack Snyder-ish there with the CGI and some of the special effects and the fighting aspects. So, and then Rick, you said you saw it again and you said that you would give it an A+ or a straight A from an A-. What's your thoughts now on that part of the film after we had talked about it after the original first time we saw it, the original?
I think undeniably it looks Zack Snyder-ish. I mean, a lot of those fight sequences at the end very much look like stuff that was out of Batman v Superman, or even some other films we could reference. But the reason that it went from kind of bugging me a little bit, took a small dip, but built its way back up to just really not bothering me at all, had a lot to do with all the Trevor stuff that was juxtaposed with it. And for some reason, I missed some of that on the first viewing because I was a little taken out of the film, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh man, this is the one part I'm a little disappointed in, and this sucks. I didn't want this to happen." And then it it bounced out. I still left feeling great, still gave a great review. But when I saw it the second time, obviously that's coming, and so you're prepared for it. But I also saw a lot of things that were going on that I missed, and they were really special moments, and it was all about Trevor. And because of that part, just I guess it's not the sexiest compliment to say it didn't bother me as much, but it never tremendously bothered me anyway. So it was just a little easier to digest it and say, okay, there's a little bit too much eye candy here. I don't think it's just a DCEU Zack Snyder issue. I think we're seeing this too much in superhero films, period, where the third act gets a little much. But right, is that fair to say? I feel like right, kind of is.
No, you're right.
And so, but how many of them are juxtaposing really sweet special moments between Trevor and Diana? I mean, I those are some of my favorite moments in the film that are inside the part of the film that I was most disappointed in. So I guess that's the best way I can describe it. There's a lot of good things going on while that's happening, and I missed that the first time because I was kind of bummed. Now it just doesn't bother me as much. It'd be interesting what happens when I see it the third time, when I can I have a completely clean slate and I just know that everything is there. But it just the third act just doesn't bother me the way it did, and it's still not the strongest part of the film in terms of the overall aesthetic because it starts to look a little fake. But my God, the stuff that's going on in the B-roll rolling is quite magical.
Yeah,
Zaki, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, Oh, I was just gonna say I would come with Rick. I didn't have any of those issues of the third act. The only issue I had, I just didn't like how Ares looked. I wish that he would have, like, Sir Patrick would have kind of merged into a more of a godlike image, because he still looked like this guy with a creepy mustache. You know, that's.
I wanted to get it.
I didn't. Yeah, the armor didn't really do anything for me, but other than that, I didn't have an issue with it. And it was more of a visual issue. Like, oh man, I wish he looked more like a supervillain action figure. He just seemed like this guy, and maybe that was intentional for him to be unassuming and everything. And I just didn't like it. It bugged me a little bit, but I did like when he made his mask though with his hands. That was cool. That was pretty heavy metal.
I get what you're saying, because I was like, when he went from being the English gentleman to Ares, I was like. And then they show his face, and he's still this, still looks the same in the face, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, that's kind of dumb. That's what I thought in my mind. I mean, make him look a little, I don't know. I mean, different, but yeah, good point there. So go ahead.
Minor nitpick. It didn't. That was my only thing with the third part.
Yeah, and the twist I didn't see coming. So y'all may have seen it, but I didn't, and I thought that the twist part was cool.
I did see it coming. I'm quite
well.
The second time I saw it coming.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, I knew it was coming because I saw that it reported that David Thewlis was playing Ares, and so as soon as his character shows up, I'm like, okay, that's probably the twist. But
they said that.
Yeah, it was around some places.
Oh, I didn't see that. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Oh man, that would have ruined it too.
But it wasn't too bad. I mean, the way the third act happens and how it happens doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I was fine with all that. My issue was the same as Justin's, where it's just the visual aesthetic of Ares. I was just like, he winds up looking a little bit too like just a big all CG character, and it would have been cool, I thought, if it made more sense to me if they took the same kind of time and effort they put into making Wonder Woman look as, iconic and regal as she is in her armor. If they had like something like more of a practical route with Ares or something where it was just more his look and aesthetic matching Wonder Woman's a little bit more, because him just forming his armor out of just whatever and stuff kind of just makes it look a little bit ragtag, and keeping his, mustached face there. And even in the flashback that they showed, he still has the dang mustache. And I'm like,
I really hate that mustache.
Yeah. But that was my biggest problem with it. But like Rick says, they do juxtapose it with, and it holds up with, it has a purpose. It's not a big slugfest. There are important story beats happening all throughout the third act. So that kind of holds it up for me.
Yep.
I thought, I bought into Thewlis as the, what was it?
Sir Patrick.
Sir Patrick, yeah. But I kept thinking, because I'm watching Fargo season 3 right now, and he's like the villain in that. I only get guys watch Fargo, and I can go in, oh, there's that guy from Fargo. He's an asshole in Fargo. He's such a nice guy in this movie. So I think that's part of the reason why, then he turned in, he was he was Ares, he was the villain. I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. So I was glad I didn't catch it. So anyway, whatever. So much for my Fargo reference. Anybody watching Fargo season 3 but me?
I was watching a little bit of it.
Very good.
Haven't finished.
Oh my gosh, I love that show. So anyway, enough Fargo talk for the day. All right. Any other, Zaki, thoughts about the third act?
Yes.
We haven't talked about yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm going to echo the general sentiment that I think, just reflexively with these things, once it sort of clicks into CGI Wonderland, there's a part of my head where I'm like, all right, here we go, and I find myself reflexively, like, I question that too, because it's like, well, that's kind of just part and parcel of these movies to some extent. So I try to grade it on a curve. I think what made this one work, and I would also say, because Guardians of the Galaxy a few weeks ago did something similar, where it's just Act 3 is just a lot of effect, But I think both that and this, there's an underlying sense of caring about the main character's internal conflict, and the external conflict is a reflection of that. So I think for me, and I noted this in my review, I liked what led into the big CGI stuff, and I liked what led out of it. Yeah. So on balance, I really like, in the middle of that fight, I love how Steve Trevor comes up to her and he's telling her, I'm going now. I'm not going to see you again. I love you. And I love the fact that she doesn't hear what he's saying.
Yeah.
And then it's only later, like she processes what has happened. The fact that she has seen him for the last time. It worked so well. I mean, there's this extra level of tragedy, and a lot of people not a lot of people, but a few people I've seen have criticized, like, oh, why does a man have to be like the reason she becomes a hero and all this? And I don't see that. I see it's these two people who, what does he say to her? Right? He says, "I can save today, but you need to save tomorrow," or something to that effect, right?
Right.
Yeah, and they're two parts of a whole. That's what I loved about it.
Very good. Very good. All right.
That's a great line in that film, too.
All right, we're going to start winding this up. I have a question for all of you, a quick question, and then we'll do some plugs and get the heck out of Dodge. Superman the movie, Batman Begins, Wonder Woman. Rank them as DC movie origin films. Rick.
Okay, so I've been struggling with Wonder Woman and Superman the movie. I'll be honest with you, I have. But Batman Begins, and I'm sorry, that's the clear winner. Probably, I've been vacillating. I think I'll have to go back to Dawn or Superman, but it's so close. I really just adore Wonder Woman, but so many of the things I loved about it would not have existed without Dawn or Superman. So I have to take that in consideration. And nobody embodies a superhero better than the late Chris Reeves. So it is close. So I'm going to say Batman Begins, Superman the movie, and I'm going to say Wonder Woman.
All right. Ryan.
Ooh. That's tough. I mean, obviously for me, Batman Begins is the top. Wonder Woman and Superman the movie, I need to rewatch Superman the movie, but it's very, very neck and neck. And the thing that kind of drags Superman the movie down for me is Lex Luthor, which I can't really fault that movie for the time it was made.
Mm-hmm.
And Wonder Woman, obviously, it was a lot to it, but my knee-jerk reaction right now would be Wonder Woman second and Superman the movie the third. But man, they're so close.
And just real fast, so you don't like Jesse and BVS. Did you like Kevin Spacey? In other words,
no.
Is there a Luthor you like on film, sir?
I like Michael Rosenbaum.
Are you a cinematic
Rosenbaum? There you go.
What is wrong with Gene Hackman in that role? Damn it!
Nothing's wrong with them in the roles. It's just that they don't really embody Lex Luthor the way I would want to see Lex Luthor.
Fair enough.
But okay. Michael Rosenbaum's pretty damn good. I mean, take Smallville as you will, but yes, absolutely, Justin's right.
Yeah.
All right, Justin.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, this is actually pretty easy for me. Batman Begins is going to hit the top of the list for that. I just love that film. Like that could have been the only Batman film that was put out, and I would love it. It was great. I'm going to put Wonder Woman at second. I love that movie. It doesn't have, because here's the thing, Batman's my favorite, so I'm obviously going to put Batman at the top. It's a little fanboy of me. I just love Batman. I'm always going to place Batman at the top. Yeah, but Wonder Woman 2, that movie's just a strong movie. And then Superman the movie, I'm going to get tore down for this. I just found it completely boring. I can never watch all the way through it.
It's magic.
I know. So I'm sorry.
Magic.
I love, and I think Christopher Reeve is Superman. Let me just say, Christopher Reeves is Superman. That movie bored the heck out of me, and I don't like Lois Lane. I think she sounds like I would just drop her in the ocean if I was Superman, because she doesn't seem cute or loving or anything. There's nothing about her. I don't know. I'm sorry.
You don't like
direct all hate mail.
You don't like her Kirstie Alley cigarette.
Huh?
You don't like her Kirstie Alley cigarette voice now?
Yeah, I liked her in.
Yeah, she sounds like Patty and Selma.
Yeah, she's like, hey, Clark, want some orange juice?
Oh man,
the opening Krypton scene,
you got me.
Really
Who's
was
got you?
Boring. Yeah. So it's sorry. There's parts I love, and that's just my thoughts. I think Superman the movie has almost. Oh gosh, I'm going to say something that's going to piss people off. Should I do it?
I'll bet.
I think Superman the movie has hurt people. Has negatively affected people's view of who Superman is in the modern age. I think he's super corny.
Wow.
He's super corny, and I think people think about, oh, there's this guy who's like, saving cats and stuff like that. And I don't think Superman shouldn't do those things. I just think that there was a certain version that they put on film at that time that is stuck with like everybody. And that's why it's hard for them to do new iterations like, Man of Steel and whatever, because
and that's
we're so
Superman Returns.
We're so beholden to this idea, and it's hard to get past it. And I think the Christopher Reeve Superman movies were more corny than iconic, in my opinion.
We're definitely going to do a Superman the movie podcast now.
Yeah,
I just want to.
I'm sorry, guys.
I'm gonna book Richard Donner on that one too.
But I want to make.
Oh no! I'm going to listen to this later and regret everything I said.
Let's make sure we're clear on something. He likes Danny DeVito's Penguin in Batman Returns. All right. I can't wait for that. And by the way,
about that letter where you said Batman and Robin's awesome too.
Oh god!
You still have that?
Oh yeah.
All right.
More content.
You still have that letter
with me.
My head is spinning. I can't take the Superman movie bashing.
Okay.
Jackie,
okay.
I'm not
help us
bashing.
out
I'm not
here.
bashing.
Okay.
Anyways,
all right.
Somebody restore the quality of the show.
Zaki, what do you think?
Yes. Well, yeah, I'm gonna take a left turn from the Superman the movie bashing. I would actually rank them in release order, and that I love Superman the movie. I love Batman Begins, and so putting Wonder Woman third of those three is no insult. Yeah. I think it's actually amazing company to be in, because there's another DC Comics origin movie, which is Green Lantern, which is about 50 stories straight down from any of these three, and I think just in terms of using Superman the movie as a template, I think what Wonder Woman and Batman Begins both did is they followed the path that Superman the movie laid down, which is to acknowledge the essential cultural importance of these characters above and beyond being funny book characters wearing colored pajamas. They're important parts of the American and now global cultural experience, and they're not embarrassed by what they are.
No, and
Christopher Reeve wearing that, he could have looked embarrassed, but he wears it with pride. And I think his when Christopher Reeve comes out of the revolving doors and we first see him in his suit, it's an iconic moment. I think when Gal Gadot walks onto no man's land and we see her in her Wonder Woman uniform for the first time. I mean, when you think about it, it's extraordinary because we've seen her character before. She's already had an entrance in Batman v Superman, but this supplants that. This is like, no, this is her entrance.
Yes.
Right. When she climbs up that ladder, that is iconic.
Yeah.
Is, say, man, that's a bad outfit. Right.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. I mean,
excuse me. Yeah.
All right.
All right. So let's see.
Hey, before we do some plugs, I don't have
rank it, bro. Hey, hold on. I'm gonna rank mine now. Hold on, Rick.
Yeah.
Just hold on there, sir.
Yeah.
Hold your horses. All right.
You already text me yours.
All right. I have not texted you. I have not. This is my damn show.
Batman Begins, Batman Begins, Batman.
All right. So,
oh no,
Batman Begins.
No, you may be surprised. If I had to rank them as far as importance, it's Superman the movie, it's Batman Begins, and then Wonder Woman. I think they may be the three best comic book origin films, period. Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, I really like. Help me out here, guys. Iron Man. Iron Man's a good movie. It's not in the same category as Begins. If you want to put it that way, but it is good.
Raimi Spider-Man.
So
Captain America: First Avenger. That one though. I love
Captain America: First Avengers up there. We're going to do a show on superhero origin films. I'm gonna write that down right now.
Sounds good.
Podcast on superhero origin films, but. You know what? I mean, so importance. I have to keep it at that. I like Batman Begins more than Superman the movie and Wonder Woman, but what Superman the movie meant to me as a kid, I saw it in the theater in 1978. So, and it was a big deal when that movie came out. You'll Believe a Man Can Fly and all that. It was, you know, it wasn't at Batmania 1989 levels with Batman, but it was a big deal. And, you know, it's the first modern superhero film. And you can see it in Batman Begins. You can see it in Wonder Woman. And that's how I would rank them because of that.
And also, let me say one more thing on it as well. It also set the standard that established actors, serious actors, could do these films, and it's okay.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That was monumental to have Marlon Brando play Jor-El.
Gene Hackman, yeah.
And Gene Hackman, yes. And because it led to...
And Glenn Ford and all the other supporting...
That's what Justin.
Jackie
Cooper.
I mean, that's... You know, one of the reasons why, you know, I'm sure Jack Nicholson took that and millions of dollars with his
$50 million that
crazy contract he got for playing the Joker. But anyway, all right. So now let's plug some stuff. Rick, you want to go first? Rick's got an important, it is a job interview, for more or less, right, sir?
Oh yeah, I have an audition today. It's fun. It's going to be loaded.
Break a leg.
Yeah, it's time to start working. I haven't really been working much these last couple of years. I also haven't been auditioning much. I just haven't had time, but I've got time now. So
I think underwear gigs is a strong choice. You know,
yeah. 2004, I could have done that, sir, but that should have been done very much. And never modeled, never cared to, but I would have taken the money. Anyway, so plug. So I've said this before. I've never been a Twitter guy up until about 11 months ago. Now I love Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. I need some Twitter followers.
Boy, he loves Twitter now.
I hated it. I had like 110 followers 11 months ago. I'm close to 700 now. Not bad. I want to get some more followers. It's fun.
Not bad.
So here we are. Shewrick, SHEWRICK. And that's my Twitter handle. And then, listen, if you like our Star Wars podcast, I'm excited to announce that this Saturday we are recording our prequel Star Wars podcast. It's going to be just about the Star Wars prequels. There's a couple of guests that aren't quite confirmed yet, but I do know that Zaki is joining us, and obviously Ryan will be there, but Justin, you are skating on us. Just to do what? Hang out with your family in Legoland or something?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Legoland.
To avoid talking about the prequel.
I don't want him to shit.
I'll do anything.
I don't want to talk about the Steve Span opening crawls.
All right.
Anyway, so we'll be promoting that when we're done. But that'll be a fun show, and that's really all I have.
Okay, and what's your final grade for Wonder Woman, or as of now?
Man, it's A, maybe A plus.
Okay.
It's an A. It's a solid A.
I remember when we got out of the theater, Rick was like, "I'm going to change my review." I love that. He was so in love with that movie when we got out.
It's a flimsy A plus. My wife loved it, and I fed off her excitement as well. She absolutely loved it. She hasn't loved a superhero film since the Nolan films. Honestly, she hasn't. She loves the Sam Raimi Spider-Man film. She's even kind of a Spider-Man 3 apologist. We have issues with that. We almost got a divorce over it.
Boo.
But,
what?
Wow. Well, that doesn't surprise me.
Superman.
You don't like Superman. You like Batman Returns. You hate Dark Knight Rises. It kind of all makes sense. But my wife just loved Wonder Woman, and that was really, I was feeding off that. You know, it was great.
All right, Zaki, plug something and your Wonder Woman grade.
So Wonder Woman B plus was my grade, and that's a very solid big thumbs up for me. So don't read any negativity into that. As far as stuff to plug, I just posted last week a retrospective about RoboCop, which will turn 30 next month, and that's up at fandor.com.
30 years.
Yeah.
RoboCop.
I hope you enjoyed reading that. I had a really good time. I mean, that's one of those movies that has really just stayed in my conscience, and I think for a lot of people who sort of grew up with it, but it has a lot to say that's especially relevant about the time we're in right now. And also, I just posted a 35th anniversary commentary track for Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, where me and Glenn Greenberg, who's a Star Trek novelist and comic book writer, we watched the film together and dropped some trivia and had some fun talking.
Guys, if you're listening and you're not following Zaki, you're missing out. I mean, follow him on Twitter. He is so talented. I'm a huge fan. I really mean it. You're one of my favorite critics. I love all your stuff. So anyway, do yourself a favor and follow Zaki. I just want to say that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I'm on Twitter at Zaki's Corner, ZAKIS.
All right. Very good, sir. Ryan.
My Wonder Woman grade is just a nice, clean, simple A. I mean, can't really get much better. And I just want more films like it. We need more films like it. So follow me on Twitter at SMB_Ryan and follow the other podcast I'm a part of, the Robin Everyone Loves the Drake podcast, on Twitter at ELTD podcast and on the BatmanPodcastNetwork.com website.
Thank you. Justin?
Yes.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at J_Rocca, and we can talk about Superman the movie and other movies of contention if you'd wish. I have another show called Let's Go Cast and the Let's Go Comic Show, and we actually just put out a 2-part episode where we had our wives on to talk about Wonder Woman, and it was really cool to hear their thoughts. And one of my friend, his wife, said that Wonder Woman inspired her to be true to herself, and she said no more it was actually really powerful. It was at the end, we're like, oh wow, that was kind of poignant what you just said. And so it was really a great couple episodes to hear the girls talk, and it was really fun too. So if you want to check those out, just go to letsgocast.com and you can find links to download and listen to those.
All right.
What's your ranking?
Yeah, your ranking.
Oh,
dude.
Wonder Woman. Yeah. Wonder Woman is just a big, gigantic golden A for me.
All right.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Very good.
Loved it.
Okay.
Loved it.
I stand by my A-, and that's a lot. So I love Wonder Woman. Hey, look, guys, I'm putting it up there with Batman Begins and Superman the movie.
Yeah.
So, and I can't think of any other, we struggled to come up with origin movies that are close to it. We'll talk about that on a podcast later, but I really, it's up there, and it's up there as in the DC films as well. So,
yeah, if I got A- and B+ in life, that would be amazing.
I mean, altogether, it's if we average all of our scores for it, it's as a collection, it's an A. So
yeah,
I think it's pretty high praise for that movie. So thank you. We could get into thoughts about the sequel, which that could be a whole other show. So I'm not even going to bring it up. Who we want to be the villain or whatever. But let's just bask in the original for right now. And announcer Rachel will tell you where you can find me, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey now! You've been listening to the Batman on Film podcast, a proud member and the sponsor of the Batman Podcast Network, BatmanPodcastNetwork.com. You can listen to the BOF podcast on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn, and wherever good podcasts like this one can be found. Want to advertise on the BOF podcast? Go to advertisecast.com/the Batman on Film Con podcast. Follow Jett on Twitter at Batman on Film and on BOF's Facebook fan page at facebook.com/Jett.BatmanOnFilm. Email Jett via Jett@batman-on-film.com. Follow Rick on Twitter at ShewRick and on Facebook at facebook.com/BOF-Shew. For Jett, Rick, Justin, and Ryan, I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening.